Hey everybody, this is Drew Carey. I'm the career coach for the School of Information Technology. We're just going to wait a couple more minutes. Several additional students had RSVP'd, so I'm just going to give them a minute to arrive. And Jessica Jagger will be here shortly as well. So hang tight.
I'm so sorry. I was on my personal Zoom room. And Al should be making his way in here. I thank you for your patience and grace. Al, we made it. Here's all your people.
Hi, there are people. That's so exciting.
Yeah. So welcome to another installment of the virtual launch lab. Today we have Al Carroll from techpoint.org. He has been with us for several years and we're glad to have him back, albeit virtually. But he's going to be talking to you today about a variety of things, including the XTern program, which is an internship program that TechPoint puts together every year. So Al, I will share with you, and you can start doing your thing.
Sounds good. And also, y'all, I know it's hard, but I talk to Jessica all the time, so it would be really nice to talk to more than names on a screen. If you wouldn't mind. I'd also say that I give this presentation or versions of this presentations all the time. So it is way more interesting for me to be able to interact with you and to answer the questions that you have as I go. Thank you. Thank you, Drew. My man Drew came on. I appreciate it. Anybody else going to join Drew? Be brave.
Hey, Drew,
and talk
can
to
you
me?
make Al co-host, please? I can't do it for some reason.
Nice. Got another one.
Ryan.
My man.
All right, there you go. Now you're
All right.
co-host, bub.
Let's get cooking.
And I'll try to bring this cat back. He's his own person.
Let's see. All right. So again, I'm going to make one more last plug. If you are willing, please come on so I can see your face and see how you're reacting to what I say, so I can know whether or not I'm saying the right things. That would be most helpful. Again, my name is Al Carroll. I am the University Activation Senior Manager at TechPoint. TechPoint is a nonprofit organization with a mission to accelerate the growth of the technology ecosystem in Indiana. So when I say that, and I'm sorry, I have a tendency to go a little fast, especially knowing that I've lost about 10 minutes. So I will try to slow down, but if I am going too fast, just let me know. But we're the nonprofit industry-led growth accelerator for the technology ecosystem in Indiana. What that means is that we bring together tech companies, nonprofits, philanthropies, universities, governments, all to create opportunities for talented individuals like yourselves. We consider ourselves to be the ecosystem operating system. And typically when I say these things, people tell me like, I know what those words mean, right? But the way that you're using them together, I don't necessarily follow. So help me out a little bit. So what we believe is that there are 7 key ingredients to a thriving tech ecosystem. So when you think about the ecosystems that you know, right? So that's San Francisco, maybe Austin, New York, right? The places that you've heard of, they have these ingredients, and TechPoint is doing our best to make sure that we have these ingredients here in Indianapolis so that our tech ecosystem can grow as well. So that starts with talent. Talent begets innovation. That innovation brings in capital. That capital can then be used to start or grow more companies that can then hire more talent, right? So it's a virtuous cycle that we're trying to get flowing. From there, you have to have a connected and informed community surrounding each one of those areas. You have to use research to guide your strategy, policy, and decision-making in each of those areas. And then finally, you have to promote. So you gotta let people know what's happening, right? And which is a reason why that there's good tech going on in San Francisco. It's the reason why there's good tech going on in Austin, right? And why today, when you leave the conversation, you'll know that there's great tech being made here in Indianapolis as well. I work in the talent division. TechPoint Talent, or TechPoint X, right? We are your talent multiplier. You can multiply your skills, multiply your network, multiply your job opportunities, and that's what we exist to do. Through that, we have 3 programs now, and 4 even that are kind of budding. The XTern program is what I'm going to talk about the majority of today. From there, if you actually are an alumni of any of our programs, we will connect you with the Grid, which is an opportunity for folks for us to help you find a full-time job. So for our program alumni, we will actually be your career counselor and help you find an open position here in Indianapolis if that's where you want to work, and that's only for alumni. And then we have our sales bootcamp program, which is an opportunity for you to get a job in sales here in Indianapolis. So what we found is that for folks that are non-technical, sales is the best on-ramp to get into tech. So we have built a 4-week program that will train students on how to be business development representatives, which is that first level, entry-level job in technical sales. But for today, let's spend a couple minutes focused on the XTern program. XTern is a 10-week full-time paid internship with one of many different technology companies here in Indianapolis. And those companies range in size from Cummins, Eli Lilly, Angie's List, right? Some of the big dogs that you've heard of, all the way down to some of the smaller early stage startup companies startup and scale up companies that you may have not heard of, but are still offering some really awesome opportunities for students while they're with us for the summer. I'm going to play this quick video and let the video tell you a little bit more.
There's more to life, and there should be more to your internship than work.
XTern is just that. It's the ultimate work-life experience, and it's located right here
in one of the fastest growing tech hubs in the United States, Indianapolis.
Is there any way you can turn up the volume?
This 10-week program.
Work alongside industry leaders in one of Indy's many premier tech companies.
Nice.
Make lifelong connections with more than 100 other brilliant minds.
And experience the vibrancy the city has to offer.
There's plenty of things to do, places to eat, sights to see.
And it's all surrounded with a thriving tech scene waiting for you.
Waiting for you.
It's no wonder Indy is rated one of the top cities for young professionals.
That's me.
The best part, Your housing is completely free and located mere blocks from the heart of downtown.
Submit your application today
Submit your application
Submit
today.
your application today.
and join us for the best summer of your life.
Thanks. Oh, so I recognize that the best summer of your life is a very high bar to set. So I just want to make sure that we qualify that a little bit because I do think that we've done. Thank you to my folks that are applauding. I appreciate that. So we have a 94% extern satisfaction rate from their employers, as well as a 97% satisfaction rate from extern employers with their externs. And over the course of the last 7 years, we've been able to recruit just under 1,000 students here to the program, which has been fantastic. Just for your background, the application for extern is due on October 12th. So even if you apply today, you will not hear back from us until October 14th. The good news is that if you apply today, no matter what, or even when you apply, you will 100% hear back from us on October 14th, up or down, either way, whether or not you move on to the next round. So that's good. And we're getting close to that time span. So essentially, from there, if you pass that first round of our review, then we would invite you to complete our work sample assessment. That work sample assessment is a case study or a coding style interview, depending on which kind of job you apply for, which there are 12 and you can apply for up to 2. From there, if you pass that work sample, from there, we'll actually invite a panel of professors and industry professionals to actually grade those work sample assessments. It's a blind grading process. We do have professors from Ivy Tech that are on that committee. So I'm very confident that you all have the background that you need to do that work. That said, we will be stack ranking you against everybody that applies for the positions you apply for. So if you find yourselves at the top of those rankings, then we'll send your application and materials out to all of our employers. So that's part of the major benefit of the extern program is that if you pass that assessment, everyone sees your work, which is pretty cool. So from there, we'll send you out for a company review. The companies will review and decide who they'd like to interview with. If you're selected for interviews from multiple companies, then we invite you out to our finalist day experience, which will be virtual this year. And that'll be over the course of 2 days on November 12th and 13th. Okay, just so you have a little background, this is what finalist day looked like last year. Jess, have you been to finalist day? You've come to visit, right? No, not yet. Okay. So last year we had it at the convention center. And you can see we had over 100 different hiring departments that were there, 61 different companies. Over 200 finalists, so that helped us facilitate over 800 interviews in a single day, and we left that experience with 139 matches. So the good news is you should know where you're going to be from the summer. If you get through our process, you should know where you're going to be for the summer by Thanksgiving. If you get a match at the finalist day experience, and then if you don't get a match, we actually will keep you in our list of qualified students. And we will actually send your application to anyone who's hiring up until May. So, and anyway, throughout the whole year, if people are looking for folks, we always have a qualified pool of individuals that we can send to. So it's always pays to kind of be in the know with us. Just for a little background, because I recognize that you all are at Ivy Tech and you're from especially Ivy Tech Indy. So you're probably from here. So you're probably thinking like that free housing thing, I don't necessarily need it. And I recognize that. So it's not a requirement of the program. I will only say that you don't necessarily get paid more by not living in our housing, right? It's a benefit that you would just forgo, but just something to keep in mind. And also something to keep in mind is that obviously we did all of we were really virtual this summer, as everyone was with the pandemic. So we did the program virtually, and we would do the program regardless of whether or not we're going to be able to be in person or virtual. But I wanted to make sure I saved this video so I could show you kind of the spirit of what we do when we're in person. But just know that this was not this past summer. Okay.
Oh, what a feeling. Look what we've overcome. Oh, I'm gonna wave my flag. Count all the reasons we are the champions. Ain't no turning back. Saying, oh, can't you taste the feeling? Saying, oh, we all together singing. Look how far we come now. There's beauty in our unity. up for your colors. Ready to people, new day has just begun. I wear my colors on my back.
I think in the interest of time, I'm going to pause that video, but I think that you all get the idea. So what questions do you have for me about the XTern program?
Nobody has a question. I have a question.
Please.
What are some of the types of internships y'all get for the XTern program?
That's very good. And we're going to talk about jobs in tech in a bit, so I can expand a little bit on the why there's so many, it's so broad, but it's software engineering, business analytics, IT networking, customer success and support, marketing. Our goal is to serve any role that a tech company might need. And what we really want to make sure that people really understand is that there's so much more to tech companies than just software engineering. So while I'm not trying to tell you not to learn software engineering, not to learn your programming languages, because that's a fantastic skill. And if you have the aptitude for it, you should 100% be doing it, right? But what I do want to say is that there's probably more opportunities to align a role with your skills and interests in tech than just that software engineering opportunity. So please, as you're thinking about engaging with us, know that we have opportunities from product development to HR and office administration. So all sorts of different roles. I really appreciate you asking that, Jess.
I had a question.
Yes.
My question is, does this like for only like sophomores and up, or can like freshmen also apply?
So that's a fantastic question. We are not a respecter of your year in school, right? So that work sample assessment really lets us have a really true test of your skills and ability. So we don't really limit people in that aspect. So it is open for everyone. Sophomores and juniors are our ideal target. Obviously with Ivy Tech, it's freshmen, first years and sophomore students is the level. So we're aware of that. Every year we have first year students in the program, is what I like to say when I get asked that question. What I got to tell you, man, is it's not easy, right? It's a competitive program. It's difficult, but you can do hard things. So I would highly encourage people to still check it out. But yes, first year students are welcome to apply.
I had one more question.
Please.
Yeah. So like, what if you don't have any like technical skills yet, but you're in the process of learning it, and you believe that you can like learn a certain set of skills before the internship? Could that work, or do you need to have those skills nailed down before the application test?
That's a great question. So I think that the test is in and of itself is the requirement. So you do have to have enough skills to get by that test. And again, that test is going to be from October 14th through October 20th. So I'm giving you the 6 days that you have on it right now. Now, if you're working on an assignment, you've got 6 days to do it. So my encouragement would be that now is not the time to strike out and try software engineering if you don't feel like you have you have many skills in that particular area. Now, I can tell you right now, from a technical customer success and support, and I say this every year, Jessica, don't I? Every year you hear me say it. I'm going to get 2,000 applications for this program. I'm going to get 20. I can guarantee you I'll get 20, if not fewer, for technical customer success and support. And there are always opportunities for people to be hired in that division. I think right now I have 11 applications for it. And just by comparison, I have about 600 software engineering applications. So I would say that technical customer success and support is a fantastic spot to learn more about a company, to learn more about a product, and specifically to learn a customer's issues with a product and how a customer uses those products. Fantastic stuff to learn early in your career. Now, that said, I cannot convince some of these computer science majors from four-year institutions to apply for that kind of a role. And every year, opportunities in that area go unfilled because people don't want to do it. So I would say, I understand that it's not the sexiest role in the world, but I mean, those folks get paid a paid internship too. They get free housing as well. They get access to all the other programming that we do, including the full-time job help that we offer for our program alumni. So really, there's not a lot of downside to applying for an IT networking or technical customer support kind of position. But that would be my advice, is that if you're looking to do something technical and you don't feel like you are as confident in your technical skills, don't let that stop you from applying. Just apply for something different.
All right, thanks.
Hope that helps. Anyone else? What questions do you have? That's why I'm here. I'm here to answer questions. So, and again, I could talk at you for not the next 30 minutes, but I mean, it's way more interesting if I'm answering your questions.
Right. And you can type them in the chat too. I know some of us don't like to be on camera or on audio, and I will ask for you by proxy.
Yes, and I can read too. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you all put in the chat.
I wasn't trying to insinuate that you couldn't read, Al. I'm sorry.
Just kidding. I was just trying to be funny. I'm just trying to lighten the mood. I can't see how people are reacting, so I'm making my own fun right now.
I'm only basing everything off of Ryan. So
Ryan, and you're giving me the facial expressions, Ryan. I really appreciate you. The facial feedback that you're giving me. It does say, thanks, Ryan. It does say security ed is cybersecurity, specifically. Yes.
Cool, because that is what I did. I did the application before I got on the call, because
dope.
I've looked at XTern before, and now that I'm getting a little bit closer to graduating, I wanted to go ahead and actually apply this time. So
nice. I'm glad you did. I think we've talked before too, Ryan. So I'm glad you're back.
I got a question.
Please.
So like what kind of test we will be taking? Like it's like a more technical, or like how?
It depends on which role you apply for, Mohammed. So if you're applying for software engineering, I can tell you it's a coding style interview. It's a coding challenge. You can use one of the seven most commonly taught languages in universities to solve that challenge. And then again, we would evaluate your response from there. For marketing, for example, it is a case study. It is very much going to be like, hey, here's a question. Can you make the graphic design and marketing materials for this particular activity? So it kind of depends. It's going to span. The idea, Mohammed, is that what we're asking you to do will have you produce a work product that will be very similar to what you could expect to produce during your internship. So it's not easy, but it is certainly not impossible either. And I would also say, y'all, the biggest challenge to the process right now for the work sample assessment is turning it in. So I will tell you right now that I'm going to send out over 1,000 and I'm going to get half back. So, I mean, you just got to just turn it in, right? See the question. It's not going to be the easiest question that you've ever been asked. It's going to be difficult, but take the time that you need to do it and then turn it in. Turning it in is half the battle in this game. So,
all right, thanks.
Yeah, don't be afraid of it. But it's going to be hard. Don't be afraid of it. I will say that again. And if you don't hear anything else from me today, you can do hard things. So don't let it being hard discourage you from doing it. All right, I'm going to move on just in the interest of time and just talk about a couple more things. But please continue to ask questions. I will continue to break away as much as I can. And then I know that you all have a career fair that's coming up. So I want to make sure that I take some time to get you some resources for how to prepare for your career fair as well. But before we do that, let's talk about Jobs in Tech 101. So we have so we've developed a resource. It's called Jobs in Tech 101. It is a self-guided resource. If you navigate to jobsintech101.org, you can find it there. And I do hope that you take some time after the presentation, whenever you really want to actually look through this resource. It is a fantastic perspective on jobs that are available here, not only here in Indianapolis, but just in tech in general. But before we get into that, I think it's worthwhile for us to define what tech is, so that we're all working off the same kind of general background. So at TechPoint, we define tech into 4 key categories, right? So you got your tech product companies. These organizations sell a product to make money. And in a lot of cases in Indianapolis, that is a business-to-business software as a service product. And that's kind of why we have a lot of companies that are doing work, but why you may or may not have heard of them already, because it's mostly business-to-business, not business-to-consumer work. From there, you have your tech service companies. Tech service companies are like IT consulting firms, right? So they sell their time and expertise to make money. And then you have your tech infrastructure organizations. And these are the people that I think of when I think of like traditional tech, right? So these are the folks that run your data centers. They're the folks that actually help us with the physical connections of our technology. So that's your data centers, cable and internet companies, right? Tech infrastructure. And then you have everybody else. So we believe that if you use technology to enable your business function, that you are a tech company. So you might see some organizations on here that you recognize, right? Like Cummins, small diesel engine manufacturer out of Columbus. If you had, you might have heard of Cummins before, but you probably didn't realize that they are actually the largest IT employer in the state of Indiana. They have over 3,000 IT employees. From there, not far behind Eli Lilly, right? A pharmaceutical company that has 2,200 IT employees. Again, they could not do their businesses without technology. So there are a lot of different opportunities for you all to break into tech. Again, it's not just software engineering. There are tons of opportunities. Franciscan and community, obviously we folks that are from Indy, you know, these are hospital networks, right? Community Health and Franciscan Alliance post on our job board more than just about anybody else. So there are tons of technology opportunities there as well. Then you have Raytheon, a defense manufacturer, right? So many different things that are here in town, opportunities that are here that are tech that, again, like you might not think of. And tech companies need makers, marketers, and managers in order for our businesses to grow, right? These tech companies are businesses, so they need business skill talent the same way that we need technical talent in order to help these businesses grow. So as you all navigate the Jobs and Tech 101 website, what you're gonna see are occupation families. So I wanna just take, it's a 30,000 foot view at what the function of these jobs are in a tech company, okay? So you might be more used to seeing a job title that looks something like this. But what you're gonna see on our website is definitely the occupation families that are more like this. So what we did to get there is we took the Department of Labor ONET database. We scoured through over 1,800 different job descriptions of titles that we felt like were relevant to tech. And we boiled the ocean, right? We boiled the ocean so you won't have to. And this is what we got, these 10 occupation families. So I'm gonna take you through some resources. This Job and Tech 101 resource is just gonna be fantastic for you for a one-to-one thing to look at. As you are going through and evaluating what you want to do long-term with this, with these degrees that you're pursuing. Let's go product development. So as you navigate through, you'll find some pictures that are consistent with what you can expect in an Indianapolis tech company. So these are real pictures from organizations here in Indy. Some of the titles that I mentioned before. So we do get into a little bit of what the titles actually are that you can expect from this occupation family. What a day in the life might look like for someone who's working in this occupation family. And then specific profiles of individuals here in town who are working in this area. And these include what they were working on, things that they find interesting, what skills and interests they feel like are relevant to other people who are living and working in Indianapolis or other people who want to work in the areas that they're working in. You can also find folks so anybody that's looking for a full-time job, you can also find the folks that are hiring right now in Indy, and there are, right? So even with the state of our environment being what it is with COVID, you can see there are certainly folks that are still hiring here in town right now. So there are 138 jobs on our job board on techpoint.org right now, today. So I highly encourage you all to check out the Checkpoint job board. I will also tell you that to get the jobs in your inbox, you can go here and subscribe. I am a real proponent of this, both because I work at TechPoint and also because this is how I got my job, right? This is like real talk. I used to work at a consulting firm called PricewaterhouseCoopers. And when it became time for me to go look for more opportunities, one of my friends said, Al, hey, you should look at TechPoint. They always are posting technical jobs. It'll be great. And they send an email every week with any new jobs. And I got on this listing, and that's how I found this opportunity. So again, I am a firm believer in it. I know it works because it worked for me. So I would say definitely get on the board here and sign up so you know what's available. And let's see, even for roles that have 0 to 2 years of experience, it's 35 jobs. Yeah, so quite a few jobs that are up and hiring right now. And I do want to say that we are very active in making sure that these are actual real jobs too. So we do our due diligence to make sure that folks are actually really hiring for these. So definitely check it out if you are interested. The next thing I want to show you is going to be really helpful for your career fairs. And we'll get into more detail about how to prepare for a career fair later. But one of the biggest things that I want to talk to you about is being prepared. right? So making sure that you're not just going to a fair and telling someone, hey, can you tell me about your company? When that's information that you could Google on your own, right? So I want to make sure that you have some other resources that you can use other than Google to get real insight into companies. So to the extent that you have a specific place that you want to work, right? Please go to there's a list of companies that are going to, you know what, I'm not going to get too deep into career fairs because I could talk about it for years, but I'm sure that there's going to be a list of companies that are available. Jess, is there a list of companies that are coming to the fair that are available?
I'm sorry, I was chatting with somebody. Are you asking about what companies are coming?
Yeah, there's a list available, right? I know that there.
Yeah, right now on Hire Ivy, if you look under career fairs and the virtual work and learn fair, as well as the all majors virtual fair, you can see the employers that are coming to both of those companies. And the next week or so, I'll be pulling out the ones that have IT specific ones and sending them out to IT students.
So as you get that list from her, as you can see here, there are over 800 different organizations that have a tech directory profile on techpoint.org. So as you get the list from Jess and you are looking for a specific organization, I encourage you to come here to do that research. So let's look at Car Global, for example. So as you get to our tech directory, you will see a company description that's much more succinct than what they have on their actual company website. If you have you can see what job openings they have available, which might very well be different than what they're advertising at the fair, right? And then the best part, the bread and butter here, is that you can see all of the stories that have been written about these organizations in our community over the last 5 years. Okay, so again, this is invaluable to you as you are preparing for career fairs, because you know how cool it would be. You know how few people come up to me and say, "Hey, I was reading this story on techpoint.org, and that made me really interested in your company," right? No one says that. No one says that. I think that showing that you've done that level of research will help you separate yourself from some of the other monotonous conversations that people are going to have at these career fairs, right? So I think the name of the game with career fairs is making yourself memorable. And I think if you are prepared and you have some solid knowledge and background of the organization, that is going to help you stand out. Because I can tell you, as someone that does career fairs for 60% of my time, the vast majority of that time that's been at career fairs is spent with telling people stuff that I think that they could very well find out on Google. It's like, hey, you're wasting both of our times here with these particular questions. So again, make sure that you have strong questions and that you're doing your part to stand out. Looks like we have a question. Oh, thanks, Drew. So Drew, see, and me and Drew did not coordinate before this, y'all. So this is some real perspective that you're getting from multiple people. So doing the research will help you stand out in interviews. And you got to definitely ask the questions that are related to the research that you've done. I promise you, a good thought-provoking question is going to be way better than a throwaway question that you felt like you just asked because asking questions is a part of the formula.
What's some of the best thought-provoking questions you've heard, or you've asked yourself?
People have asked me.
What's your favorite type of macaroni and cheese?
Right. People have asked me why have I stayed at my organization, like what makes me excited to do my work, like why are you here? I think that that's always a good challenge of someone, and it's also a good test to understand whether or not they're, why they're there, right? And it made me think. It really made me think, like, you know what? Like I know that I love my job, but what is it that I really actually like about it, right? Like there's a lot of different places that I could do this at, right? Like why do I choose to do it here? I think that was one that just like, oh. Yeah, I wasn't really expecting anybody to ask me that, so I appreciate it. Another thought-provoking question for me, and anything that's open-ended, right? Like something that is going to spark someone to actually give you a response that isn't a yes or no answer. I should start writing them down, because every once in a while students will ask me something that's like, I've never heard anyone ask me that before, and I never write them down. Why are you still at your company? Or what is it that you're excited? What's the next thing that you're excited about doing at your organization, right? Like, so someone asked me the other day, like, hey, what's something exciting that's coming down the pipeline at TechPoint that you're excited about working on? And that was like, oh man, as Jess could probably tell you, so much at TechPoint is so like just in time that like thinking out a year isn't necessarily what we do. But when I do think about it, it definitely had me think. It's like, oh no, there is some stuff that's coming down the pipeline. I think that there are some more questions that you can ask in interviews that are important, like, how am I going to be evaluated in this role? Like, are we going to have meetings? Are we going to, like, I think it's really important for you to understand whether or not you're going to have in the moment real-time feedback, or if you're going to only have one check-in throughout the whole time that you have an internship for folks to understand where you are, right? And those two experiences are very different. So you got to be prepared for that in advance, right? So I think, how am I going to be evaluated in this position is something that should be at the top of everyone's list. I don't know if that's necessarily a career fair question as much as it's an interview question, but yeah, I think that those things are important. Does that answer, Jess? I'm sorry. That's a good question.
I think that was lovely.
Oh, good.
But I have a question that a student is asking me, not really related to a career fair per se, but I would love to get your input on this. When a student is studying things like network penetration, cybersecurity, network infrastructure, do you think it is, how would a student get the attention of an employer if they have no actual work experience?
So to me, the main answer that I give to people is projects. Projects. So how can you elevate something and show your interest when you don't have anything formal? I think that tech, more than anything, is going to be way more open-minded to your tinkering and how that has provided you experience than we would be, than maybe you might find if you were working at a bank, right? So I think that for us, I have heard many CEOs tell me, and this is a direct quote from a CEO, I'd rather hear about the server you built in your basement than the summer that you worked at McDonald's, if you are not interested in that summer that you worked at McDonald's, okay? So if you don't have anything compelling to tell me that you learned from that experience, then why put it on your resume, right? And I get why. I do understand why having formal work experience, that's an important thing to show. And being able to show that you carried a job for a period of time, that's an important thing to show. So there's value there. But I can tell you, as an employer, there's nothing worse than looking at a resume and picking something out that I think is interesting and having someone tell me like, oh, that's a thing I did once. There's nothing worse than that, right? Like that doesn't help either of us. So to me, it's got to be about your interest. So in the way that I measure interest is personal projects. If I can see that you have put in an individual effort to chase down something that you are personally interested in, that you wouldn't have gotten experience in any other way, that personal project experience is stuff that can go on your resume and you can talk about with employers. And I guarantee you that we would be more interested in that than the work that you're doing that's more formal if it is not in line with what you want to do moving forward. So again, I just want to make sure that I qualify that, because I'm not trying to say that the work that you're doing right now in retail or fast food or anything like that, that's not valuable, because it is. But when you're thinking about how to compete against in the IT networking world and in the cybersecurity world when you haven't done it, think about personal projects. And I'll take classroom projects if personal isn't an option, right? You can talk about the stuff that you've done in the classroom, but I am more compelled by, hey, I saw this issue and I was interested in it and I've learned these skills. So I decided to take the skills that I had and apply them to something and see how I could make it work. That is always a compelling story, any way you slice it.
And a follow-up question. How do you feel about like open source projects on GitHub and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's interest. Like, if it lights you up and you are like, yeah, I did this thing, and you get excited about it, like, hey, this is what I learned, this is what I'm doing. Those are the conversations that are going to move you further, right? It's the robotronic kind of automated conversations that are just like, yeah, the throwaway stuff that you don't actually care about, that is not important, right? If you're passionate about it, if it's lighting you up inside, if it's like, hey, this is something I'm really jazzed about, that's the stuff that we want to hear about, and that's the stuff that we want to get to, right? That's the kind of work that you want to do anyways.
Awesome.
Yes, do those open source projects. If you're looking for an idea, right? Do the open source projects. But you might have to do a couple projects to get the structure down. But again, to me, if it is you personally doing that work, that is always going to be compelling to me. All right, so let's talk about Indy. Like, why Indy? Why now? Why is this guy out here talking to us? What's going on? So over the course of the last 10 years, there's been over $7 billion worth of transactions, Lord, my bad, y'all. Transactions, $7 billion worth of transactions in the forms of IPOs and buyouts, acquisitions and IPOs in the Indianapolis-based tech industry, right? And I can't see your reactions, but I'm sure that your mouths are agape because that is a ton of money. Okay, $7 billion is a lot of money, y'all, and it puts us in a really unique spot as mid-sized cities go, as mid-sized Midwestern cities go, to be able to generate that kind of wealth here in this area is something special that makes us very different, and it makes us prime for that very first early slide that I showed you, right? So we've had the talented individuals that have done innovating ideas, and they have got an influx of capital, right? Let's talk about that capital. So ExactTarget is probably the most well-known acquisition in our ecosystem. They were bought out by Salesforce, changing the face of our skyline, but they were bought out by Salesforce for $2.5 billion. What a lot of people don't necessarily realize is that there wasn't just one person that like walked away as a fat cat billionaire as a result of that transaction. In reality, what happened was when that deal was signed, there were 100 new millionaires sitting at the table. Well over 100 people made over $1 million in that one transaction, right? So again, if we think back to that original slide of the flywheel that we're trying to get going for a thriving tech ecosystem, we've got a bunch of people who now have an influx of capital. And what would you do, right? What would you do if you had over $1 million in a day? That's a real question. This is not rhetorical. Ryan?
I have no idea.
You don't know? I think I saw someone jump in, Mr. Sal.
Invest, probably.
Invest, right? Yeah. So I think I would invest too. I tell you, I would not. I don't think I would work for anybody, right? Like whatever it is, it would be on me, and it would very much enable my dreams. And that's what we found, right? Those folks are staying here. They're starting new companies. They're investing in new organizations. And like I said, they're forming and growing more companies that need more talent in order to help them grow. And as a result of that, they've encouraged us to go out and recruit from different universities to find that talent. And then we don't have this problem, right? So this is a real listing from San Francisco, right? So this is one of my favorite slides to show. This is a $1.6 billion home, less than 900 square feet. That's a $6,000 a month mortgage, but that's only if you put down 20%, which is just $400,000. So again, the $6,000 a month mortgage, you're probably living there with your 5 or 6 closest friends. Yeah, I kid you not. If you put in $1.6 million into Zillow in Indianapolis right now, you can get a basketball court in your house for that price. And I'm not kidding. I'm talking full court, 5-on-5 basketball court in your home for that price. And then we don't have this issue, right? And I'm not saying that we don't have it sometimes. Like we're going through a little bit of a growing pains with traffic, and I think that the pandemic has advanced some of the traffic priorities that we were doing because folks are traveling a little less. So the last couple of weeks I've had a little bit of traffic, but this is just Austin on a random Tuesday, right? These guys, I think from an environment of growth, we are a long way away from being in a situation where we're that congested. And when you think about where all of this investment is going, right? You're not going to build on to San Francisco unless you start going out into the ocean, right? Austin's in a similar situation, right? The suburbs of Austin have grown and grown and grown to now where you're about an hour 15 out if you're in the suburbs working there, right? So again, obviously we could get there, right? And eventually we may get here in the next decade. But as of right now, I think that this is not having these issues is going to make Indianapolis a really compelling place to grow. And matter of fact, I just saw something today that said Fishers, Indiana is the #1 place to live and work from home, right? Which is insane, right? In the entire country, no better place to live and work from home than Fishers, Indiana. And then obviously, y'all, I get paid to speak positively about Indiana. I am an Indiana spokesperson, and I don't like to hide the ball about that. But these are 2 organizations that are out of Seattle, right? So LinkedIn and Zillow have said that Indianapolis is the #1 spot where job opportunity and housing affordability intersect. So again, I probably don't have to convince y'all. It sounds like you've already put down roots here in Indy, but that's a great thing. I just want to make sure that you know that you made a good decision by being here, right? Because there's no better place to be from a housing standpoint than here. Sorry, I'm looking at the chats. So All right. So I do have a couple more things to talk to you about as it relates to career fairs and interviewing and just getting prepared. I do want to make sure that I know we're in the last 12 minutes or so. So if you do have any questions, please do make sure that you ask them. Also, if you have any questions that come up after this presentation, you can always reach us at x@techpoint.org, and we'd be more than happy to get back to you as soon as we can. Someone's in the office answering that email very often. So what questions do y'all have for me about Indy, about what we're doing here before we kind of get into some more of the presentation?
So if I'm getting it right, TechPoint basically connects students with internships and helps the Indianapolis tech sector grow.
You nailed it. So we help students with internships. We will help companies find capital. But essentially, the 7 key ingredients to a thriving tech ecosystem that we're at the top, we have operations in each one of those areas that are helping us to move the needle forward in multiple ways. So whether that's finding access to capital to help your business grow, whether that's providing third-party stories to help tell the story about what's happening at your particular organization, we'll do that. We essentially help companies and we help the ecosystem find the resources that it needs to grow.
And as far as the internships go that you offer at TechPoint, do you have to apply for an internship that's within your major? Or can you, like, if you want to explore a little, can you, like, apply for a different internship?
You have to be able to do the work. So I say that with a caveat because I don't know what you can do and I don't know what your abilities are. So I don't want to discourage anyone from doing anything. But I'll just reiterate what I said earlier, that this is not the time to test it out or to test the waters if you really want to do it. And I don't know. I don't want to say that and have it be discouraging because, like, if you can, you can. But if you can't if you can't do that work, then it does. I mean, it's I don't want you to be discouraged about your future job prospects because you didn't get into XTern, right? So I do think that there are some routes that are less competitive than other routes to become an XTern. That said, yeah, I mean, I want to just make sure I encourage you to do it. So you can definitely apply for something that's outside of your major, as long as you have experience enough to do the work sample assessment. But again, maybe you don't know that you didn't have experience enough to do it until you did the work sample assessment. So I don't know what to tell you there, but I think to give yourself the best shot at actually getting an internship, you should be fairly confident about your abilities in that respective area. But also know that they're internships, right? Like, so, I mean, the purpose of them is for you to have a work and learn experience, right? So it's certainly leaning on learning. So we don't expect you to be an expert, but we do expect you to be able to do the work that we outlined.
One last question. So will interns like be given like actual work? Like how?
Yes.
Like how would you like rate the work that they get? Like would it be on the level of what they would get if they got an actual job, or is it lower?
That's a great question. I think that what I like to say is that these are not go get coffee internships, right? So our interns are working in the production environments of their respective softwares and programs that they're working on. That said, I do think that it is dependent on your own skills and abilities. We see students that come in and kind of take off and get a lot of responsibility early on. And then we see students that kind of, are working as a junior member of the team, doing some work for a more senior member that's contributing, but may not be directly the kind of work that you might have thought that you were going to do based on your level of experience. So I think it all depends on which company you're at, what the size of the organization is, and then what your own individual skills and abilities are as it relates to what they're actually doing. So usually what we see is that our students get a project that they can work on over the course of the 10 weeks. At larger organizations that bring on more interns, they are typically on a team of interns that is overseen by someone as they work through that project. For smaller organizations, those interns are just a junior individual contributor, and they're doing the exact same work that they would expect out of a junior software engineer that they hired directly. So again, it just kind of depends on what your skills and abilities are and what the company that hires you expects. And I offer this, I say it like this because we don't there are so many different employers that hire from us that it's really hard to give a general, consistent experience for everyone, right? I can tell you exactly what the experience is like for folks, for our social activities, for our civic engagement activities, for the professional networking opportunities that we do. I can talk to you about the program a lot, but as it relates to the job, your company takes care of your 9 to 5. And after our interview process, your onboarding process is exactly whatever that new hire onboarding process would be at that respective organization. So it's very different than what you might expect from us in that aspect. So your company takes care of your 9 to 5. XTern takes care of everything after 5. Thank you all for the questions. I really appreciate you engaging me here. I never think that there's no bad questions here. You are with the guy who knows. So get your questions answered if you have them. So let's talk about preparing for a career fair. I just want to say that one note is that you can still dress appropriately for a career fair. One of the things that we like to say is don't wear the uniform until you're on the team, right? So you're going to see me in career fairs in a t-shirt. This is what I wear to career fairs. This is my on-campus uniform. This is what I have to wear. This is not what I would prefer to wear when I'm meeting people that I don't know who are dressed nicer than me. But this is what I wear, right? So I would highly encourage you all to not model my dress as you are preparing for career fairs. It is always impressive to see someone dolled up a little bit, like they actually got ready for this event. That doesn't mean that you have to, obviously we're virtual, so that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go full out. You don't have to wear your dress shoes. You don't even have to wear the bottoms if you don't want to, although I do think that wearing the pants pulls the shirt down more appropriately. But just make sure that you're dressed nice, and that you're clean, and that your visual appearance is respectable. Know the platform that you're going to use. I think is it a handshake fair, Jess? No. What platform?
It's Higher Ivy.
Oh, okay. So is it Simplicity Fair?
Yeah, they actually over the summer created a virtual platform. They busted it out agile style. So we're debuting it next week.
Y'all look, so I've been on 7 different career fair platforms, and Simplicity has been my favorite. So I think that it's the most like an actual career fair in that you're standing in line, and then it allows me as an employer to select you to come into one of my rooms, which gives you an opportunity to stand in line at multiple places, right? Which is also pretty cool.
Yeah.
So again, just know your platform, right? All those things that I told you, if that's the first time you're hearing all this, then probably is not the best thing. Jess, I think that there are probably some tutorials available, right?
Yep, we're actually sending some out tomorrow.
Yeah, so just make sure that you're familiar with the platform, and that don't let the platform be the barrier to your good conversations, because this is virtual. It is difficult, right? And I've had issues with just about every fair that I've been on. So just remember that the issues that you're having are consistent across the board. And that this is a good time for grace, right? We as employers, I think, understand all of the hard times, all the challenges that are happening. So kind of lean into that, but just make sure that you know the platform. Do your research. I know I've given you at least one resource to use to research on those companies, but I can tell you it's going to make you stand out, and it's way more impressive to hear someone say that they've done the research in advance and to come up with an actual understanding of what's going on. It is a waste. If I only have 10 minutes with you, it is a waste of 3 minutes of time for me to tell you what we do, when you could just find that out on Google. So 10 minutes goes by so fast. Not to say that all of the employers will be limiting their time to 10 minutes, but I know that's where I'm at. I'm trying not to spend any more than 10 minutes in those conversations. So make sure that you're optimizing your time the most appropriately. Prepare your answers in advance, right? So we know some questions that you're going to get asked, right? They're going to ask you to tell me about yourself. They're going to ask you, hey, what's the, I can tell you, I only asked 2 questions ever at a career fair to anyone that comes to me. There's only 2 that I ask. You want to know what they are? Yes. I'm building, I'm building suspense here because I hope
please, yes, please.
Please. Oh my God.
Now that I can see that I've got your attention. This is great. All right. So only 2 questions I ever ask anyone at career fair is, 1, tell me the one thing that is the most interesting to you on this resume. And I do that because I want to give you a T-ball. I really want you to be good, right? When you're talking to me, I don't want it to be a nerve-wracking experience. I want it to be an experience that you're comfortable in. And I want you to talk about something that you're passionate about. And that's anything. Tell me about what you're most proud of on this resume. So I would say be prepared for that question, because it can come to you in a lot of different ways, but in some way, someone's going to ask you that. The only other thing I do is I look at that resume and I pick out the thing that is most interesting to me, and I ask them about. So whatever it is, whatever it could be, I had a guy over the summer who was a show diver at Holiday World. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And it was like, what do you mean you're a show diver at Holiday World? And he told me all about it. He jumps through a flaming hoop, sets himself on fire, and he jumps in the pool. Like that's his summer job. Again, thought it was the coolest thing ever. I will never forget that. That was one of the coolest jobs I've ever heard. But again, you never know what it's gonna be. But if it's on your resume, you should be prepared to talk about it. And if that's I think so often at career fairs or interviews, people think of the questions as an opportunity to teach how good you are, or an opportunity to measure how good you are at thinking on your feet. I think if we shift that paradigm just a little bit to measuring how good you are at being prepared, I think we would all go about preparing for these things a little differently, right? So just have a 2 to 3 sentence answer ready for everything on your resume. If it's on there, it is fair game to be asked. So if it's fair game to be asked, it's fair game for you to be prepared to answer that question. And then bring your own questions, right? Like make sure that you're asking a question. And make sure that question's relevant, right? Like don't just ask me your list of questions that you're asking to everyone because that's the list that you made and that's what I'm asking, right? If I answer your question in advance, don't ask me again when I give you a shot, right? Like make sure the questions are relevant, make sure that they're interesting, and make sure that there's a point to them, right? Don't just ask questions for question's sake. Like actually ask a question that you're interested to learn about. So I would highly encourage you to have those prepared. Like know what you're gonna, like make your list of companies that you want to talk to. Make the questions that you're gonna ask each of those companies and make sure that they're different, right? I have a notebook here or notepad that's here that's got all sorts of stuff that I've written on, right? You should have that ready for you, right in front of you, so that you're ready in every career fair conversation or interview virtually that you're gonna do this year. Oh, I'm at my time. I'm sorry, I've blown through it. So I do have a couple more things, but I won't hold you. I am at the hour. So let me see if there's anything else.
I will also add to that, Al, within the Hire Ivy platform during the virtual career fair, you are allowed to, there's an option after you finish your chat with the employer, there's a place for you to put your own notes, and only you can see them. So you have that ability there if you're more digital than manual.
Oh, for sure. I mean, whatever it is, but yeah, just make sure that you have some notes to access for sure. One thing I wanted to say is the formula for the tell me about yourself answer. I know I'm holding you over, so if you got to go at 4, I understand. But this will be my last one. Just make sure that the tell me about yourself. This is how I like to see them answered. Again, no one's looking for your life story, and we're certainly not looking for you to take up all of your 10 minutes telling me about all the places that you've been, right? Present, past, future, okay? Where am I now? I'm a second-year student studying cybersecurity at Ivy Tech. Past, I study cybersecurity because I had a fantastic experience working with my professor on something that was really interesting to me, and that's not what I want to do forever. And in the future, I'm interested in pursuing opportunities that will allow me to use my skills in cybersecurity. Again, that's 30 seconds. I wish it was more clean, but it is something really quick. Here's where I am. Here's why I'm here. And then here's what I want to do in the future. Boom, boom, boom.
And we actually have an elevator pitch workshop later this week on October 2nd. And I'll put that information in the chat.
Y'all, I didn't even know that. So the last thing I'm going to give you is absolute gold. It is not related to let's see. It's not related to career fairs necessarily. Jess, would you mind, can we stop the recording for this part? Because I think that the people who attended this should get this